Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. This is your host, the Barkeep, bringing you podcast 35 here at the Tavern, presented by HeroTaku.com. Now, back by popular demand, or so it seems, I have Raptor with me again.
Maybe I'm the only one demanding to come back, but...
Believe it or not, there are people that are asking for you a lot more often than they are me. But,
really?
Yeah.
Really?
But I got Raptor in today for a very interesting discussion topic. And basically, Raptor, here's what it is. There was an article posted last week on theadvocate.com about David Yost.
All right.
Now, for those of you who don't know, David Yost is homosexual. And unfortunately, his homosexuality led to him leaving Power Rangers. That's very simplistic as far as what happened. However, I will post the link here in the description, so I would suggest you guys go and read it. It's a very interesting read. Mm-hmm. And The Advocate, I'm told, is a pretty good website, too.
It is.
Yeah. But what I would like to go ahead and discuss is something David Yost says in the last part of that article. And I'm going to go ahead and read it here to you. This is the first time you're hearing. Is that correct, Raptor?
Yes.
Okay. Basically, he goes, the article says, and I quote here, "But he hopes to see diversity in programming aimed at young people evolve to include LGBT characters in the near future. David Yost says, I would love to see a gay character introduced on a show like Power Rangers. There's a whole realm of possible stories that we've only begun to tap into, and gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, questioning, and intersex young people need to see themselves reflected in the world around them." So that's his quote at the end. And what that leads us into is, what our discussion topic is going to be for today is gay characters in Power Rangers. Now, there is a number of things to go over about this, so let's try to take these one at a time.
First of all, we already had one. Vita.
I thought Nancy from Lightspeed Rescue was gay, or Kelsey and Nancy were supposedly... I don't know. But obviously there is no legitimate...
no stated...
Exactly, and all that. Now, let's be honest. Let's make this statement first real quick. I think right now that's not going to happen. With the way children's television, quote, children's television is, I don't think we're going to go ahead and see that.
Although I would say it's not so much children's television. Mm-hmm. It's more a Saban thing.
I would agree with that too, but I think it's both factors are going to tie into that.
Well, look over toward... I know you don't watch Adventure Time, but Adventure Time has had an all but explicitly confirmed lesbian relationship between the characters Princess Bubblegum and the vampire Marceline. And it's not just fan-driven subtext. It is...
But Adventure Time's a little bit edgier than your typical cartoon, correct?
And Cartoon Network has always been a little more edgy.
They've always been pushing that stuff. But in terms of what is acceptable for children on Saturday mornings, what is acceptable from Saban, who is really just trying... let's be honest, I think the only reason Saban bought Power Rangers back was to cash in on things like the 20th anniversary while save as much money as possible. Because I know they ain't paying for riders.
Yeah.
But to the point, I don't foresee that happening here soon because... I mean, here's the thing. It's going to eventually happen on television, but when is it going to happen on Power Rangers? Because it's happened like the mainstream programs, like the, quote, adult programs and everything. And Glee is something for teenagers, and they got gay characters, don't they?
It's aimed at teenagers, but it's also popular among preteens and some elementary school kids.
But I think what we need to get to discuss about Power Rangers, I think... in its current format, Power Rangers would not allow to have it, I think. And I find that very disturbing. Now, I personally don't know any homosexual guys. I know one gay couple who are really nice and all that. And I don't know much about the homosexual community as a whole. Now, Raptor, do you know any homosexuals?
Oh, God. Last weekend, I was at this Halloween party, and this gay guy kept hitting on me all night. I wish you would have just taken the hint, but yes, I know a lot of
Okay.
people,
So
lesbians, gays, trannies.
now, okay, so knowing a lot of people that are in this community, and you obviously understand them better than me, just because you know more of them and all that. How do you? I mean, do they say anything about they want to see more gay characters on television? They want, gay superheroes and stuff like that. Do you get a sense of that?
Well, to be honest, I've never sat down and had a discussion with any of my gay friends about, do you feel that you would like to have more representation in television and whatnot? However, even just look towards Tumblr. Have you ever looked at Tumblr?
Once or twice.
There are a lot of, I think you can just guess that just by seeing all of the slash art and maybe not so much slash art, but people who ship homosexual couples.
I've seen that plenty on DeviantArt. I'll tell you that.
And I realize that it's not just LGBT people who make these pairings, because they're perfectly straight women who make the same ships, but there is a demand for it. And again, harkening back to Adventure Time, that ship has been incredibly popular. And, to harken back to Glee, a lot of gay groups have praised the characters of Kurt and Blaine. And so, yes, I haven't had a discussion with it, but yes, it's clear that there are many people who want more representation of the LGBT community in television. And heck, I'm straight, but I want to see more representation.
And I think the biggest issue it's going to be is, again, I think we're going to get there as a society where it's going to be common in television shows have that one gay person, not in a token sense, even though we got token black characters out there and stuff, but to where it's not going to be that's the crux of the series. Because there are so many sitcoms and television series that are based on the gay couple, the gay character and his way in the world and all that kind of stuff. But I think when we get to what David Yost wants to go ahead and do, it seems to me that not only does he want representation, but he wants to talk about these different stories about that.
Yes.
So I pose this question to you. What story can you tell in the context of Power Rangers about a homosexual, a transgendered, and intersex, or even questioning about that? Because I don't think that Power Rangers would be the right platform for those types of stories.
Well, although I'd argue it could.
Okay.
Especially if it was another high school series.
Okay.
If it was a high school series, you could definitely hit on such issues.
Well, without turning into Dawson's Creek meet Power Rangers,
You can still play. All right, so for example, just to go with an easy cliche.
Okay.
A story about bullying.
Yeah.
And you could have this gay Power Ranger having to deal with bullies at school.
Okay. So kind of like a extremely intolerant Bulk and Skull.
Yeah, Bulk and Skull without the charm.
Okay, so basically the two characters from Dino Thunder.
Yeah,
Yeah, what were their names again? Devin and Cassidy?
Yeah, but they weren't bullies, but yes.
Yeah.
Essentially them.
Okay.
And, I would argue, I would not, I know a lot of times, especially back in Mighty Morphin, the monster of the episode would be connected to
the plot somehow.
Whatever the real world problem that the teens were having.
Yeah, more so probably in the second season than in the first. But yeah, I understand.
I would make an argument for, say we're having an episode dealing with bullying. The monster doesn't even necessarily need to be connected to it. And just have the fact that there's this monster running around. Say it's an especially powerful monster. Rangers are having trouble defeating it. So the Rangers are having trouble defeating this monster running about. And at the same time, this character is dealing with intolerant bullying. So double the stress on the character.
I can see that, although the only thing I would worry about is that if we had, let's say, hypothetically speaking, we have a Power Rangers series based on Kyoryuger, just so we get a visual in our head. Okay? And let's say the Red Ranger is the homosexual character and all that. When you do stories with him, you can't make every story be about his gay struggles.
Oh,
I think.
I completely agree.
But I wonder, could you just do the series saying, I'm gay, and that's it? Because, okay, look at all the Rangers have had relationships. And let's go back to Mighty Morphin. Let's look at Tommy and Kirill. They had a relationship, it was accepted, and we went on with it. So, could we just introduce the Red Ranger with a boyfriend and not have to make a commentary about it? Just do it.
Okay, so I would be okay with the idea of not having to make a commentary because that in its own way is progressive.
Yeah.
Because it's saying you can have a normal, well-adjusted person who happens to love the same sex.
Yeah, because, and I'm going to make a quick point right here. It's like the Black-Red Rangers. The thing is, the series never makes the point that they're black. They're just the Red Rangers. And I know ethnicity and homosexuality are two separate things, but people make such a big deal about it outside the show. Like, everywhere you look, TJ, first Black-Red Ranger, and Jack, the first Black-Red Ranger in the Disney era and stuff like that. But you don't have to draw attention to it because TJ's the Red Ranger. That's it. And none of his episodes dealt with him being black. That was the thing. It was just him being the Red Ranger. So I wonder, in the context of homosexuality, do you even need to bring it up? To where, is he the gay Red Ranger, or is he the Red Ranger that just happens to be gay? You know what I'm saying?
I understand that. I would prefer to see some kind of acknowledgement of it. Mm-hmm. And even if, let's say, we're not going to deal with a bullying episode. Mm-hmm. But I think there needs to be some acknowledgement because otherwise I think it would be a bit of a disservice to have him say, oh, hey guys, I'm gay, and then never bring it up again.
And I guess in the context of where we are again as a society, it has to be discussed at some point, because I guess we're not going to be at that point. Because again, when TJ became the Red Ranger in '97, we were at the point where we didn't have to make a big deal.
But the thing was about Power Rangers was Power Rangers had acceptable racial diversity from the very beginning.
Exactly. It was also mandated racial diversity, but nevertheless.
It was?
Well, look at Power Rangers. Every season had an African American character.
Oh, okay. I thought you were.
In casting, that's been the general acceptance. They have to have one of each until they got to New Zealand, and they just didn't care most of the time.
Well, then you get the indeterminate ethnicity of the Mystic Force team.
Yeah, absolutely. But and again, just to clarify, everyone, again, I'm not trying to connect race to homosexuality, but it's a question of pointing it out and whether it should be pointed out or not. And I guess where we are again is it has to be mentioned as an introduction. You know what I'm saying? Because if Turbo was made in the '60s and all that, you would probably do some episodes with TJ being black culture and acceptance because of the time it was made. Now, since Turbo was made in the '90s, you didn't have to go ahead and do that because it wasn't any kind of deal that oh my God, a black Red Ranger, we have to say something about it. But I think, if right now they did a Power Ranger series with a gay Red Ranger, they would have to make mention of it.
Yeah, it would probably have some kind of after-school special episode.
Yeah, well,
But that being said, I would like to, I agree with your idea of not making a huge deal about it, but I want acknowledgement of it. Even if it's as simple as say the Red Ranger has a boyfriend, make that boyfriend a recurring character. Yeah,
because you see so many love interests and all that. And they never come back or they're one shot off, but, if Connor, say, from Dial Thunder, dated a guy from web, so you never see him again, you would really question that as opposed to the multiple girls you see him with throughout the series.
Yeah, just have a recurring character as a boyfriend. There you go. You're acknowledging it, and you're not sweeping it under the rug either.
Now, here's another question I just thought of when we were talking about this, because I've been saying gay Red Ranger. Do you think that there could be any type of misinterpretation if he was a different Ranger? And here's my point. Let's assume that they have another series where it's a male Yellow Ranger, okay?
Okay.
and say they decide they're going to make the gay ranger the male Yellow Ranger. Do you think something like that would have a negative connotation? Or even the fact that it's something other than the Red Ranger, the leader that's in power? Because, when you cast the Red Ranger, you always got to make him usually the competent leader, except for the Rookie and Red stuff that they've been doing with a lot of seasons and all that. Make him the character worthy. I almost wonder if they do introduce a gay character, if they would make him another color or the Red Ranger. Because if they make him the Red Ranger, that's almost affirming that he is
that he's capable and
he's capable and intelligent. But if they make him another color, a backup, or even again a male Yellow Ranger, does that send any type of negative signal?
I don't think it does.
Okay.
Look at each season. You have kids whose favorite is the Blue Ranger, people whose favorite is the Green Ranger or the Black Ranger. So I think as long as the character is written as a strong, competent character, and he's not portrayed as being weak because of his sexuality, then I think it's fine.
Now here's an interesting thought, and I told you about this earlier, but so in Die Ranger, we find out in an episode that, we know that the Die Rangers are descendants of many generations of Die Rangers. Well, somebody on Ranger Wiki had posted a photo of the original Die Rangers in spirit form from one of the earlier episodes. And it's it's very clear that all 5 of them are male. Meaning that one of the ancient Die Rangers was a pink female ranger.
You mean a pink male ranger?
Oh, pink male. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm getting all mixed up here. But yeah, pink male ranger.
Okay.
That being said, could it be done with a gay character to make them pink ranger? And if it is that a bad thing to do?
I think that would be a bit controversial. I think that would be right up there with making the Black Ranger black, and African American.
Yeah, and making the Yellow Ranger Asian.
Yes. Because at that point, you are drawing attention to the stereotype of gay men as being overly effeminate.
I see.
And I realize that's a bit of a double standard because no one would bat an eye if you did say let's say we have a lesbian character and she's a Blue Ranger. I don't think anyone would bat an eye at that. But if you made a male character a Pink Ranger, I think you would get some accusations of stereotyping.
And here's another thought that I had, and I like this whole idea with the color thing because colors do represent things, and the way the roles are in Power Rangers, they represent a number of things too. Now you remember seeing pictures of Audrey Dubois before when she was the original Yellow Ranger before Thuy Trang.
Yes.
The thing I would have to say about her character is she was very boyish in the way she dressed, the way she acted, and even her hair. And I wonder if that was a conscious decision at the time because they were using a male counterpart from Zoo Ranger.
Yeah.
So here's my train of thought. I don't mean to go ahead and catch up. Here's my train of thought. They haven't really done a gender switch in Power Rangers in quite some time, mainly since Disney bought it, because it's been obviously male in the recent series, Magi Ranger, Hurricane Ranger, and so forth, and all that.
Footage, as we get better quality footage, it's a little easier to notice.
Exactly. I mean, pretty much what they've been doing now is they've pretty much been saying, keep the genders the same. But we've been talking about gay male characters. Let's talk about gay female characters, lesbian characters.
Okay.
Because do you think that if they took a female character and did a gender swap and did like a male Yellow Ranger, would that have any negative connotation to it? Because imagine, let's say Trini's character was Audrey Dubois, who again looks boyish in the way they designed her and all that. And what if it turned out she was a lesbian and the Yellow Ranger and it's male in the Japanese Sentai? Does that say anything, you think?
I don't think it necessarily does. Because despite the fact that Yellow Rangers female Yellows have typically been more tomboyish.
Taylor and all that. And
I don't think that would say a lot. I think it would more depend on how she was characterized outside of the suit or what she was saying in suit.
Yeah, I mean, because, I may be reading too much into this, but I just get that feeling that as soon as we introduce a gay character, somebody on the conservative side is going to point out something about what color they are, what role on the team they play, and things like that.
May not even necessarily be someone from a conservative stand. It could be someone. I mean, you could get a complaint from a gay rights group about a certain color making the character seem stereotypical.
Yeah.
And, let's look at Kyoryuger here.
Mm-hmm.
What if they made the first Kyoryu Violet a male and say he was gay?
Mm-hmm.
You may get some issues because, purple, you made him a stereotypical color.
Yeah, because purple, pink, I mean, it's all kind of the same there. Yeah, I understand.
But at the same time, I don't... And you may even get such accusations if there was a future male yellow who was homosexual. But I don't think you'd get any complaints if he was the Black Ranger, the Red Ranger, the Blue Ranger, a Green Ranger.
Mm-hmm. Or even Sixth Ranger or something like that.
Yeah.
It just seems to me that people are going to find a problem with it one way or another. Because, I don't care, really. If they're gay, they're straight, lesbian, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I just want good stories, and I want fun Power Rangers. That's all I want. So it doesn't matter to me, but I know there's so many people out there that it's going to really bother one way or another.
I'm going to disagree with you here.
Okay.
You've heard the story of when... please correct me on her name.
Okay.
The actress who played Uhura on Star Trek.
Oh, yeah. Nichelle Nichols.
Yes. Nichelle Nichols. You heard the story of when she was considering quitting the show.
And she met Dr. King, and he talked her into staying on the show to be, for black rights, basically.
Yes. Then Whoopi Goldberg, when she was younger, watched Star Trek and saw Lieutenant Uhura as a black character who is something other than a maid.
Yeah.
And Whoopi has gone on record saying that's when she knew that she could do whatever she wanted. And that's what inspired her to get into acting.
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying right here. Okay. Okay. I'm just saying, let me clarify myself here, because I understand how you just took that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter to me what you do with your characters as long as they're interesting.
Right.
That's what I care about. Now, I understand exactly what you're saying about how it could be an inspiration for the community, can help with relations and stuff like that. And that I totally agree upon. But if you introduce me a team of all 5 Power Rangers who are gay and lesbian, I don't care if they are. It doesn't bother me. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
It doesn't bother me if that's what the case is. Mm-hmm. But I 100% agree with you on that, because I don't know, but like Glee, and that's the only thing I can think of, because that's like the thing. I guarantee you there'll be somebody 20 years from now that was inspired by the characters on Glee and all that, And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's great and all that.
And there are a lot of people who credit Neil Patrick Harris as an inspiration, because he is very open about his sexuality.
Neil Patrick Harris is gay?
Yes.
That I did not know.
Mm-hmm. Been with his boyfriend for nearly 10 years.
Really? Well, I just learned something new there. I mean, I love George Takei still. When I found out he was gay, I was like, okay, so what? I mean, but I love George Takei.
I love it when he mixes his sexuality with his humor.
Instead of saying gay, just say Takei.
Have you seen the video he made in response to the NBA player who was making homophobic statements?
No, I did not see that.
Oh, it's so funny. He said he says, you've made some terrible, hurtful statements, but we don't hate you. In fact, we like you a lot. And he just goes on to talk about, all these things he finds attractive about the guy. And then he ends it with, one day, when you least expect it, I will have sex with you.
George Takei is one of the most wonderful human beings on this planet, I think.
And I think he's been a major inspiration, because the man is very outspoken about his beliefs, and I think that he, I haven't read any testimonials, but I'm sure that there's some people, some LGBT people who have felt inspired by him. I mean, I feel inspired by him.
Yeah, I mean, it's George Takei. I mean, what else do you need to say?
Exactly.
Now I want to go ahead and end this by, let's tie it back to David Yost, because we seem to be going all around the spectrum here. And since none of us are homosexual, it's really hard for us to talk about community that we don't really understand. You understand them better than I do, obviously. But let's bring this to David Yost, and I want to ask these questions, basically. Because it seems obvious that the reason he left Zio was because of all the heckling and all that. Which I'd like to think none of his cast members or like Jason Frank or anybody like that was having any issues. Although it seems like David Yost and Jason Frank didn't get along from some footage I've seen. But we know the people behind the scenes.
But we know that, Aisha's actress in particular, have you heard of the No Hate Project?
I've heard of it, yeah, and I've seen a lot of the characters on there and stuff. So again, I hope the reason he didn't leave was because of one of the actors or anything.
From what I know, it was crew.
It was the crew, and that's what the Advocate article says as well, and all that. But the point I'm getting at is he left because of that, and of course he is not coming back for the Legendary War. Or the Mega War is what they're calling it, because a lot of those people are still kind of around, and he's just afraid to go back a little bit.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I have a feeling that...
Well, I read somewhere that was kind of like his thing, is like he didn't want to be around a Saban production.
Yeah, again. He said in his hashtag, done with abusive relationships.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's not going to be back. But let's say, for the sake of argument here, that David Yost eventually comes back to Power Rangers, whether it's owned by Saban, Disney again, or somebody we don't know. Okay? And let's say they do a season like they bring him back like Tommy and Dino Thunder and all that.
His mentor. Okay?
Exactly. Do you think it would be wise to have him play a gay character since he's gay himself? And the reason I ask this is we know it's Billy. He's the iconic Blue Ranger, the intelligent one, okay? And he was one of the few Rangers that evolved over the time that he was there in those 4 seasons. So I wonder if bringing him back in a mentor role, or even a leader of Power Rangers role, basically, and having him gay will help with gay relations, because you have such an iconic character.
Well... First of all, I disagree on the idea that just because an actor is gay, that his characters have to be gay.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they have to.
For example, George Takei has denied that Sulu was a homosexual.
Yeah, because Sulu's married and has Demora as a daughter. So
he said, just because I'm gay doesn't make Sulu gay.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not trying to say that,
Also, I would argue I think it would be better to have a ranger, a protagonist, be a homosexual or...
But not necessarily the mentor.
Yes.
Okay. I see where you're going with that. And I'm not trying to say he has to be gay and all that. I'm just wondering if, again, using his icon... I mean, look at George Takei. Let's take back to him, okay? Everybody knows who he is. He's Sulu. He was an icon of the 60s. He's a big star now, and everybody loves him and all that. Now, you can't make Sulu gay because you can't retcon something like that.
Yes.
Okay? But, if Sulu was intended to be gay, or they did reveal in the series that he was gay and all that, would it make his character strong, you think? You think more people would like Sulu because of that? And that's why I'm wondering with Billy, because, again, I'm not saying you have to make him gay. I'm just wondering how much that would help.
So what I would say is to have Billy come back, the significance of that would be lost on a lot of the younger audience.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
People who were nothing more than a twinkle in their father's eye when
he was the Blue Ranger. Yeah, I don't know why I was about to say red. Where did that come from? But yeah, go ahead.
And so I think it would be more impactful to have one of the Rangers, the group of characters that the kids will identify with the most. The one that's going to have toys made of them.
I see what you're saying. And okay, because I would always love to see a Ranger come back and lead another team.
No, I like
stuff
that
like
idea
that
too.
But I don't think I think Billy came back, he would have to be kind of in a mentor role and all that. And again, the only thing I thought is just like his iconic status, if that would help things. Here is one of the greatest Rangers of all time. Let's be honest, that original 5 or original 6, they are, gods in among us, basically.
Yes.
So, to find out that one of these walking legends here is gay, that almost kind of like, well, that's okay. He amounted to great things, and he was a great Power Ranger and all that,
And like I said, I think the significance would mostly be for the longtime fans.
Absolutely. And even if you get like young adults and all that, because there are, I think, people in their 60s and 70s still struggling with sexual identity. It doesn't matter what age you are.
That's another can of worms, the fact that there are not that many elderly LGBT people depicted in media.
Except for that Patrick Stewart portrayal, which was funny, but I don't think it was accurate.
What was that in anyway?
I don't know what movie it is. I just always see the clips. I'm just like, oh, Patrick, you're so awesome.
Yeah, I see, because there was that Star Trek video I showed you.
Splicing
clips of that in with TNG.
If anybody knows the name of that movie where Patrick Stewart is dating like a young homosexual man and he dresses in pink and all that, please let us know what the title is, because I have no idea what that movie is. Yeah, but I mean, there are here's the thing. The truth is, there are a number of issues you're going to have to overcome, and you really have to cross your T's and dot your I's, I think, when you do this, eventually. I mean, even if they do it within the next 5 years, that's still going to be rather difficult on a lot of levels. If we can progress as a culture within 5 years, and that's not a big deal, and they don't have to tread lightly, because that's what I'm worried about, is that they would have to tread lightly if they do this. Because heck, parent groups get pissed off about everything nowadays. They got pissed off Power Rangers was too violent and the Lord Zedd was too evil. And once again, let me quote Linkara, he's a Lord of Evil, so I don't know what you were expecting.
Exactly, he's an antagonist. But
yeah,
to tie this back to the original subject.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I lost my train of thought there.
We seem to do that a lot, but I love how we're just going over so many different ideas and topics.
I would say that sometimes you need to step up and make that controversial move. Depictions of gay teenagers in high school on primetime American television was essentially unheard of before Glee. You had a few in there, but they weren't major characters. There was a guy on Dawson's Creek who was gay, but there wasn't a lot made of his sexuality.
And in one of my favorite shows, Boston Public, at least the first 3 seasons, they had gay characters, but they didn't really do anything with them, or at least nothing that left a lasting impact in my mind.
And then Glee came along and put their gay character front and center. They did not mince anything with Kurt. And that was bold. It attracted a lot of controversy, and yet it attracted a lot of praise in return.
And I think that speaks to the fact that they're here, they're queer, we're used to it. Exactly. And we're getting there. And it's going to eventually trickle down to children's television shows where it's just going to be one of those things. Just like how white guy and black girl dating was socially taboo, to where 2 guys will be dating and it's not going to be socially taboo in programming anymore.
And sometimes you just have to look at the haters and say, fucking deal with it.
Exactly. And that's, again, I said Power Rangers is probably not the best form and all that, but when you think about superheroes and all that, I just would love to see a Power Ranger on top of a building just yell out, "Deal with it!" That would be, or at least having like a Zord behind him to help emphasize the point.
Yeah. And there's one last point I want to make. Children's television, especially more so than other forms of media, children's television, children's movies, children's books, whatever. They teach lessons. They help us grow into the adults we will become.
And that's ultimately what Power Rangers needs to be doing.
And Power Rangers taught a lot of good lessons growing up.
Yeah, but they need to get back to that, and this would be a prime opportunity to make a social statement as opposed to eat your vegetables.
To kids who are, who may be questioning their sexuality, who may be watching this show.
Mm-hmm.
And to see a gay character who is a strong character, who is not ashamed of who they are, can tell them that they are okay.
And I absolutely agree with that point. And that's the point we're going to close on because I couldn't say it any better. So, we hope you guys enjoyed here. And, if we've offended anybody unintentionally, we want to both apologize for that right now. This is territory that neither of us are well able to speak with. Well, I mean, you write on the newspaper, so that's probably a little bit...
Well, and... several of my best friends are gay.
Oh, well, absolutely. But I'm saying, none of us are mean to offend. If we've said something to offend you guys, we definitely apologize. Again, all our point was we wanted to talk about David Yost and talk about gay characters and Power Rangers, basically.
Yeah.
But, if you guys like that, let us know. Definitely leave your comments. I'd like to see what my fan base really thinks about this. Yeah.
Yeah, so... Yeah, we're definitely open to hearing what you think on this.
Absolutely. And as always, please be constructive. That's helpful for everybody. But Raptor, anything you want to say just in parting?
Like I said, I want to see a gay character on Power Rangers, not just for token representation, but just to tell kids it's all right.
Absolutely. Well, again, that's another good point to leave on. So, Raptor, I want to thank you for joining me here again. I want to thank you guys for listening. Have a good night, and the tavern is now closed.